Who is Spawn, and is he a good soldier? I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about a comic series that I've been exploring. One that is about demons and soldiers and angels as well. I am referring to Spawn, which I have the Spawn Compendium, and I'm talking about issues 11 through 20 this time, and this is by Todd McFarlane, and this was published originally in 1992. I've talked about Todd McFarlane on this channel already. See my video where I talked about issues 1 through 10 for more detail. But he was known for writing, or is known for writing Spawn. He's a Canadian writer, and he's the president of Image Comics, and he's very well regarded in the comic book industry. So without further ado, let's talk about issues 11 through 20, and I'll do a summary and analysis, and we'll move on from there. So issues 11 through 20 continue to focus on Spawn. Issue 10 ended with him having some sort of dream, but it seems that after his fight with Angela, he touched a button and that sent him to purgatory, but he returned from purgatory, and that's never really followed up on or explained too well. Don't really know what that was all about, and they didn't explain anything in issues. They just said purgatory in issues 11 through 20. They didn't really go into that much detail. But Spawn is living in an alleyway with a bunch of homeless people, and he pretty much instigates a gang war between the creeps and the nerds, two different gangs, who are using cyborgs to fight each other, and he pretty much finishes this gang war to help the homeless people who are living in the alleyway. And then we find out that when the CIA agent the Omni Security Agency or whatever it is, that once hired Al Simmons, employed him as an assassin, he's now monitoring Wanda and Terry because all of the stuff that's happening with Spawn stealing weapons from the government and similar things. All of it's pointing towards Al Simmons, but it's also pointing towards Terry, who had similar clearance. And so now he's being monitored and being told that he's under investigation, sort of. But Terry doesn't really know what's going on because he's just doing his job as a agent for the government. And then Spawn has a recollection. His amnesia prevents him from remembering certain things, but he has a memory recall where he realizes that his friend Chapel, who was also an assassin, is the one who killed him, and so he is set on going to kill Chapel or hurt him. So Chapel is part of the Youngbloods, a secret sort of government superhero team, and Spawn teleports into the Youngbloods sort of hideout, kidnaps Chapel, and teleports out, and then they proceed to fight. Spawn wins that fight, but he doesn't kill Chapel. He simply maims his face, which Chapel said was his moneymaker. It's also important to note that this fight took place at a swamp in Botswana, which is where Al Simmons was originally killed. Meanwhile, a Violator comes upon some children and tells them the story of his fight with a Spawn wizard, another version of Spawn from like hundreds of years ago. And as he's telling the story, we see in the panels that he's lying to the children. Spawn is actually a more talented fighter, but Violator wants it to seem like it's an even fight. Eventually, this wizard manages to beat Violator, but in the process, he loses his suit. And the woman that he loves sees him outside of his costume and is upset and chooses not to be near him anymore. And Violator and Malebolgia are happy that they were able to turn this person against this rebel Spawn, who seemed to rebel against Hell. And later we find that Wen also made a deal with Malebolgia, who wanted Al Simmons in exchange for some psychoplasm, which the government wanted to experiment with because it caused hallucinations, could potentially have war purposes. And so Wen had Simmons assassinated and given to Hell, essentially. And meanwhile, they used the psychoplasm to create a sort of mock-up of Al Simmons's life as a means of sort of testing it out on other soldiers and things like that, experimentation. While we learn this, Wen is teleported to an orbital space station where angels are residing, and he is turned into the anti-Spawn to basically fight Spawn and kill him on behalf of the angels, who are now worried that Spawn is becoming a greater threat. Wen is particularly powerful as anti-Spawn, but Spawn manages to gain an advantage, and the angels teleport anti-Spawn back to the orbital station. And Wen definitely doesn't want to be turned into an angel, and we later find out that that the angels sort of set him free, but intend to do more experiments on him at a later date to make him more powerful than Spawn. In the process of doing all this, Spawn discovers Simmons Town exists, the mock-up of his life, and he destroys it and kills the commander in charge of the whole thing, which is pretty brutal, but also that's his prerogative, since the government has been sort of harming him in that way. And then later we find out that a group of demons want to test to see if a nuclear bomb could be used against Spawn and to see if he would survive. They use the cover of a nuclear sort of peace conference happening in New York City at the time, and contract someone to basically create a bomb. Meanwhile, Spawn works with a reincarnation or the immortal Houdini in an effort to learn more about how to use magic. And they get wind of this nuclear bomb. Houdini traps it in like a parallel dimension. I think he sends it to Hell, and the demons are thrilled because it allows them to experiment more on humans. And then Houdini is teleported somewhere else, and people are saved from this nuclear bomb, and that's where these issues end. In terms of analysis, there's a fair bit to talk about. McFarlane continues his talk of good versus evil, although he's blurring the lines. Spawn isn't quite good, but also not evil. And the angels, although they are on the side of good, they are doing some terrible things to people. I think they understand that Spawn has sort of been tricked, but they don't really care. They just want him defeated. So, those angels aren't purely on the side of good. They have their own motives and whatnot. But one of the other themes that McFarlane is working with here is that of the idea of the good soldier and what that means. Al considers himself a good soldier, at least when he was alive, before his death. He did his duty. He saved a lot of lives, including the life of the president. And it's only after he really questioned the jobs he was being given and the motives of other people that he he sort of fell out of the sort of mindset of being the good soldier. But nevertheless, as Spawn, he continues to be a good soldier. He's a general for Hell, but he's also doing a lot of Hell's bidding. Malebolgia notes that in particular, that he might try to fight it, but he's kind of doing what Hell wants, and he will continue to do it, and Spawn has no choice but to be a good soldier. And even besides that, he tries to avoid using his powers and use his weaponry that he has knowledge of. So he continues his skills, and he continues that mindset of the soldier, of fighting for the betterment of others. We also see how Chapel was a good soldier. He killed Al on behalf of the government. It was his job to do so, and he followed that. And sometimes your orders won't be good orders, and I think whereas Al, knew enough to question some of those orders as they came in, Chapel did no such thing, and so he's kind of a counterpoint to Al. And so what's interesting is that McFarlane is not merely suggesting that you be a good soldier. like it's there and whatnot. But I think more he's saying a good soldier is not necessarily rewarded. That Al did what he did for the government, and he's doing what he's doing for Hell, but he's not going to be rewarded in any meaningful way. And being a good soldier isn't going to make you feel good at all. So there's that just general question of, should you be a good soldier? Should you be loyal or anything like that? I don't think McFarlane is saying you shouldn't be, but you're not going to really be rewarded. You're not going to get the benefits of anything, and in fact, once people are done using you, you might just be killed. So it's kind of a bleak outlook there, but very honest, I think. McFarlane is also talking about rebirth in these issues. That was really present in the first couple issues, but I think it's more so here, because at this point now, Spawn is questioning whether he is Al Simmons or something else entirely. That was something that you saw in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, where you had Swamp Thing questioning whether he was the original scientist who supposedly died in the experiments, or if he was something more, so just someone who had that consciousness. And that might be what's happening to Spawn here as well, because it seems like Malaborgia, whatever we call him, like he gave Spawn a new body, because Spawn, like Al Simmons' body is in the grave, so maybe Malaborgia is lying, or like Al just has a new body, but he has the same old memories. It's a demon trick of some sort, get him to question who he is, because if someone doesn't really know who they are, if they have a lot of questions like that, you can distort their reality and you can control them a lot easier. But in doing so, like, Spawn is kind of being reborn as something else entirely. Not quite Al, but also not Al, like a mixture of the two. And we see that in one of the issues where he destroys Simmons Town. Like, he sees his past life and he's like, yeah, this is over. I'm going to burn it to the ground, and I'm going to kill the commander who made all of this happen. So he's trying to move on from all of this. Now, whether or not he's able to do so is up for question, because Wanda is still a factor. And maybe Malaborgia is using Wanda in an effort to control him even further. It might be the case that he's not really Spawn anymore, or he's just giving him access to those specific memories because it's easier to control him if there's someone he loves that can be messed with in that way. Although we saw with the Spawn wizard that, messing with someone that's a Spawn, a version of the Spawn loves, is bound to produce more harm for the other person than it is to produce harm for Spawn. So it is interesting to see McFarlane explore these ideas with rebirth and trying to move on, but not quite being able to, because some of the factors of your old life are still there. Will Spawn be able to be reborn or move on from Wanda in future issues? Because it seems like he's doing her more harm than good at a lot of points. Again, that remains to be seen, but it's an important question to ask, and I like that McFarlane is exploring it. I do also think it's interesting to see the world that McFarlane has created here, this particularly violent world where violence is seen as normal, or a sad, tragic thing that we can't really do anything about. It seems like it's a kill or be killed world where people are doing harm to one another. Spawn has to look out for the homeless, or someone's bound to try to kill them in some capacity because the homeless are viewed as bad or terrible. The vulnerable of society are going to get hurt unless someone is looking out for them, and there aren't too many people who are willing to do that. But it is essential for Spawn and for everyone really to protect those that they love. So you see that with Spawn, you see that with other characters trying to protect the ones that they love, and that's probably why there's so many cyborgs in these worlds, because it's dangerous and you need a cyborg bodyguard to fight or to enforce your will upon other people. So it's particularly violent, and I think it sets it apart from other comics where that violence is seen as like something extraordinary, like something that's not normal. Here it is kind of normal, and it makes for a very gritty, unseemly world that in some ways is parallel to our own, especially with the portrayal of how we view the homeless, and the portrayal of the news media kind of normalizing this violence as well. So adding a lot to the overall story. There are other great things as well. I particularly love Anti-Spawn's design. It's really iconic. Like, Spawn's design is iconic too. Like, I think it really stands out, and it definitely sets him apart from other characters who were of the time. A lot of edgy characters wearing masks and hoods and things like that to seem edgier, but I think Spawn's edginess is kind of cool, and Anti-Spawn's edginess is pretty cool rather than kind of cringy as it might be in some cases. There's also less whining from Spawn here. I think it's interesting that Spawn has moved on to the whole "who am I" kind of aspect. Like, Wanda's still in his life, but he's not constantly whining about losing her. He's focusing on other things that really add to my overall enjoyment of the series. And, you know, he's asking a lot of interesting, maybe philosophical questions that are ultimately about, like, who are you and what is consciousness? And even if that's not McFarlane's intent, a lot of it is there, and it's interesting that the series is getting kind of philosophical in that way. Anyway, those are my thoughts on issues 11 through 20 of the Spawn series. I will continue exploring the series until I get to issue 50. Then I might take a break from it because this is already way too much Spawn at once. But I'm definitely enjoying it, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I think it has a lot of potential, especially with like Spawn's growing abilities, and particularly with the past versions of Spawn, or the Spawns through history. Those aren't necessarily Al Simmons, but they are different versions of Spawns that have been chosen to lead Hell's army, and those people probably rebelled as Spawn did, which I think is funny. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on this, if you want to comment on my review, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this series or this writer if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and Hellspawn-based travels. Farewell.